In the heart of a land kissed by golden sunlight and shaded by towering baobab trees, lay the village of Cambiel. It was a place where traditions lived and the laughter of children chasing goats, the songs of women pounding yam, and the stories whispered by the elders under the vast, starlit sky. But beneath its vibrant exterior, Cambiel held shadows, unspoken rules and prejudices that shaped the lives of its people. Among them was a young woman named Adia. With eyes as deep as the river's waters and a heart as tender as new shoots after rain, Adia lived on the village's edge. Orphan at a young age, she was raised by her grandmother, Mama Esi, a healer revered for her wisdom yet feared for her mysterious ways. Mama Esi taught Adia the secrets of the forest, which plants could heal, which roots held power, and how to listen to the whispers of the wind. When Mama Esi passed away, she left Adia not only her knowledge, but also the burden of being an outcast. The villagers whispered about Adia. "She's strange, like her grandmother," they said, always wandering in the forest, speaking to the trees. But Adia didn't mind. She found solace in the forest, where the rustle of leaves felt like a song just for her. Yet there was a longing she couldn't ignore, a yearning to belong, to be seen not as strange, but as someone who mattered. Little did she know her moment was coming, though it would demand more from her than she could imagine. The trouble began during the harmattan season. A dry wind swept through Cambiel, carrying with it a strange illness. It began with a fever and trembling limbs, then spiraled into weakness, so severe that even the strongest men couldn't stand. The village's healer, Kofi, was at a loss. His remedies failed, and desperation gripped the community. "The ancestors are angry with us," some cried. "This is a curse in the forest," others said, casting accusing glances toward Adia's hut. One evening, as the sun sank behind the hills, Adia found herself standing at the edge of the village square. She watched as families wept over their ailing loved ones, and a pang of sorrow pierced her heart. Gathering her courage, she approached Kofi. "I think I can help," she said softly. "There's a plant deep in the forest that might cure this illness." Kofi sneered. "And what do you know that I don't?" he scoffed. "Stick to your weeds and leave the real healing to me." The villagers murmured in agreement, their fear of the unknown feeding their disdain for Adia. Humiliated but determined, she resolved to venture into the forest alone. If no one would believe her, she would prove herself through her actions. The forest welcomed Adia like an old friend. As she walked its winding paths, memories of Mama Esi surfaced, her soft voice explaining the uses of bitterleaf, her laughter echoing as she told stories of how the baobab came to be. These memories fueled Adia's resolve. During her journey, Adia encountered an injured bird with a broken wing. She took it as a sign and carefully nursed it back to health. The bird, which she named Kaki, became her companion, chirping encouragement as she navigated the forest. One evening, as Adia rested by a stream, she met a traveler named Bakery. He was a nomad with kind eyes and a wealth of stories. When Adia shared her mission, Bakery offered his help. "The forest can be treacherous," he said, "but two heads are better than one." Together, they navigated challenges, crossing rivers swollen from unexpected rains, evading wild animals, and deciphering the forest's secrets. Through their conversations, Adia found a friend who believed in her, something she hadn't realized she desperately needed. Days turned into weeks as Adia and Bakery delved deeper into the forest. They finally reached the sacred grove, a place Mama Esi had spoken of in hushed tones. Here, the trees stood taller, their roots twisting like ancient guardians. In the center of the grove grew the plant Adia sought, the moonflower, its petals glowing faintly under the night sky. But as they approached, they discovered they weren't alone. A group of men with axes and carts were cutting down the sacred trees, their greed evident in the piles of timber they'd amassed. Adia realized with horror that the illness plaguing Cambiel stemmed from this destruction. The forest balance had been disrupted, and it was fighting back. Adia faced a dilemma. If she confronted the loggers, she risked her life. But if she stayed silent, her village, would continue to suffer. Summoning her courage, she stepped forward. "Stop this at once," she shouted. The men laughed, but Bakery stood beside her, his presence lending weight to her words. Together, They convinced the loggers to leave, appealing to their sense of fear and respect for the forest's power. With the moonflower in hand, Adia and Bakery raced back to Cambiel. By the time they arrived, the village was on the brink of despair. Kofi's remedies had failed completely, and many feared the end was near. Adia prepared the cure, her hands steady despite the weight of expectation. When the first patient, a young boy, opened his eyes and smiled weakly, a ripple of hope spread through the crowd. "She did it," someone whispered. "Adia save him," another said, louder this time. One by one, the sick recovered. Adia's knowledge, once dismissed, became the village's salvation. Even Kofi approached her, humbled and apologetic. The villagers' attitude toward Adia changed overnight. They came to her not only for healing, but also for guidance. Adia, in turn, taught them the importance of respecting the forest, sharing the story of the sacred grove and the consequences of its destruction. Bakery chose to stay in Cambiel, his wandering days behind him. Together, he and Adia worked to heal not just the people, but also the land, planting new trees and fostering a deeper connection between the village and the forest. The story of Adia and the illness became a legend in Cambiel, told under the baobab tree for generations. Its lesson was clear: never underestimate the quiet ones, for their strength may one day save us all. And never take nature for granted, for it holds the key to our survival.